Morimoto took a moment to compose himself before divulging something terrifying. With a wry smile on his face, Morimoto took out his phone and showed it to us.
I like NFTs. Nice fat tushies. I'd like to play a new game this week called Let Me Stop You Right There. This is because a frequent issue I have with the current volatile state of the games industry is you see these problems that large publishers are making, and they seem so obviously correctable. You see them from a mile away, and you wish you could reach out and say, let me stop you right there. Please stop. You can fix this now. And that's what I would like to do today with some recent games as a service. Firstly, we've talked before about these kinds of CG teasers that are much more of a recruitment tool for the studio than an advertisement for the general audience. Sega uploaded an interesting video to their Japanese YouTube channel this week. That is 100% a recruitment video for the team building their new Crazy Taxi game. In this video, they have designers talking about how rewarding and fun the game is going to be, but also how rewarding and fun it is to work at Sega. Come join us. I am using automated subtitles here, but also thanks are due to Automaton for a more reliable translation. And also, they did that translation for the Miyazaki Famitsu article I talked about last week, so double thanks to them. Anyway, the headlines generated from this recruitment video are generally, look out, that new Crazy Taxi game is an open world MMO. That particular phrasing, the open world and the MMO factors, that's lifted from the video. I feel like the more accurate phrase, and maybe the one everyone is afraid to use here, is GaaS. It's a game as a service. We suspected before, but now we have confirmation. Now, a lot of people are alarmed by that phrase. Games as a service is a disgusting phrase. They're impure. Pure games ask you to purchase them once, and then you can play them forever. Games as a service, by their design, are incentivized to create repeated purchases. They're nasty. They're filth. I love them. Now, you might have assumed coming into this video that my hang-up would be the game-as-a-service nature of Crazy Taxi, that they wouldn't be going for the classic arcade feel that a true gamer would desire. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I think a standard arcade-style Crazy Taxi game could only do okay at best. It could do fine. But if Sega wants this game to succeed in their schemes of strengthening the global branding of existing IPs, if they want the game to be a hit, if they want it to do better than okay, I think it makes sense to take it in this sassy, gassy, battle passy direction, risky as that may be. So, if I'm not here to criticize the open world MMO-ness of this upcoming game, why are we even playing Let Me Stop You Right There? Look at this.
こうはちゃめちゃにこう飛び回ったりとか止まったりとかこうドリフトしたりとかまあそこになんかプラス
Crazy Taxi, let me stop you right there. Why are you adding police cars? Now, to be fair, these scenes were also seen in the Game Awards trailer from last year, but now that we know for sure that we're looking at a multiplayer game here, that there is another player controlling that police car, I must say, that is quite simply a bad idea. Don't do it. I think that it can only make everyone more annoyed who is just trying to have fun in this world. And maybe my finger is not quite on the pulse like it used to be, but I kind of feel like police chases simply aren't as funny as they used to be. And the thing is, the solution is so damn simple. It doesn't have to be police. Just make it a rival taxi company. You have the classic yellow taxi company who loves to play The Offspring really loud and drop people off at Pizza Hut. And then you have the new purple taxi company who doesn't even play music, but has bottled water in the back. But the purple taxi company isn't even out here to compete for passengers. They are simply haters. Their sole purpose for existence is to put the yellow taxi company out of business. Congratulations, Sega. You now have a taxi MMO with 2 factions. Please, just don't put police chases in this game. In other major GaaS news this week, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League officially unveiled Season 2, featuring a new playable character, Mrs. Freeze. Now I realize that entire statement may be perplexing to you. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League does have an abysmally poor player count, but Warner Brothers recently confirmed they will fulfill their 1-year roadmap. They're doing it, they're locked in, it's happening. After all, somebody bought the deluxe edition of that game, so it actually becomes a unique case study, something that is interesting to observe. How does a game with no future, how does a dead gas walking add new content? But actually, before we get into it, I do need to give you some really quick SSKTJL context. The way the original game ends, the final boss is a version of Brainiac who has the same powers as the Flash, who you did battle earlier in the game. It's the same boss fight as before, but with Brainiac wrinkles. Then comes the Season 1 content. The Episode 1 boss fight is with Brainiac Green Lantern. It's the same boss fight again, but with Brainiac wrinkles. The Episode 2 boss fight is with Brainiac Superman. It's the same boss fight again, but with Brainiac wrinkles. Okay, now, look at what they're promoting for Season 2. Episode 3 will have a Superman and Flash Brainiac fight, and Episode 4 will have a Green Lantern and Superman Brainiac fight. They're already out of bosses. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, let me stop you right there, please stop. You don't have to do it like this. I understand a lot of work is probably already done with this game. You're locked in with your final 2 DLC characters. You're probably locked in with your guns and their weird abilities. I'm sure that most of that is already decided. And I'm telling you, you show these guns to anyone and it means nothing to them. Here's my suggestion. Rebrand yourself as the dumbest game as a service in the world. Make it stupid. Crank up player damage to ridiculous levels. Allow your remaining dwindling player base to just run amok in this world in a way no other game could possibly allow. I've been thinking about this a lot since we talked about difficulty in video games last week. In that I feel like since the inception of video games, designers have always preferred to make their games stinky or bad than easy. Easy is the worst thing a game could be, because if the player becomes bored, you don't make money. Think about like an arcade. Think about the arcade version of Crazy Taxi. If someone can just sit down at that wheel and play for a half hour on 1/4, you doomed the arcade. Think about Destiny 2. If Destiny 2 is too easy, it messes up the entire economy. You doomed Bungie. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is in this entirely unique scenario where there already is no economy. There already are millions of players who played this and got bored and will never return. Now it's time to just go wild. Here's my suggestion for the upcoming seasons. Instead of trying to figure out new combinations of Superman and Green Lantern and Flash Brainiacs, go in an absolute different swerve. And it doesn't even have to be impressive. You can load into the final boss and it could be like this little old grandpa Brainiac. And he says,
"Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a bit old because time travels too quickly in this timeline."
And he dies in 1 second, and then you get 1,000,000 Lex bucks for killing him. Why not? What is holding you back at this point? There's one other funny matter of Season 2. It's this. New shop items coming in Episode 4. Look at that. Arkham-style Harley Quinn. This got its own post on the thriving Suicide Squad subreddit titled, "Yes, finally!" The comments below are not nearly as positive, and they do bring up this one scene in the game where Harley Quinn looks at that exact costume and says, "Yeah, right." Instead, she walks off screen and collects a bunch of clothes and comes back and says to the squad, "Cute threads, boys. Real retro. I was thinking something more fashion forward."
No slow walk. Don't you slow walk. Don't you slow walk.
Oh, shit. So seeing this shop item advertised as an upcoming feature is essentially Rocksteady saying, finally, you can make Harley Quinn wear this costume she explicitly doesn't want to wear anymore. For a price. Now, you can also make King Shark turn into chocolate, which I'm sure he doesn't want either, so it's a pretty broad discussion of morality. But it does seem to me that every game as a service, at some point in its development, has to answer this question for itself. How horny? MiHoYo, who launched Zenless Zone Zero this week, typically says very horny, but not enough to extend past the teen rating. As the ESRB puts it, some female characters are designed with exaggerated proportions and breasts that jiggle during certain movements. Camera angles sometimes highlight various body parts. ESRB, this isn't the place to be shy. What various body parts are we talking about here? Meanwhile, Helldivers 2 found great success with zero horniness. I did find this one part of the rating to be funny. Players can also shoot and kill human civilians during rescue missions. You're expressly punished for doing that. But I guess simply having the option, giving the player the choice whether or not they would like to shoot a civilian, implicitly makes a game mature. The First Descendant, another gas release this week, says giga horny. Now, just in case you're watching this video at work or in church, I'm not even going to show you the most flagrant character designs, but I do feel like this describes it well. Some female characters are designed in revealing outfits, e.g., deep cleavage, partial buttocks, and crotch exposure. The word fuck appears in the game. Now, here's my take. We've all seen yoga pants, right? They're good, universally. Why are we complicating this? Kyle, let me stop you right there. Don't do this. Copy that. Here's what I'll say. Crazy Taxi, while still early in its development, has clearly already made the call on its horny level. They've had the discussion. And I have to say, I think they're going in the right direction. And that's Delayed Input. I'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. I want to clear up some potential confusion with regards to Crazy Taxi being a game as a service and potentially Sega's next super game. It's not the super game. We talked about Sega's promise to create a super game a few months ago. In fact, it's kind of interesting to go back to this. This was Sega Sammy's integrated report put out earlier this year. This was Shuji Utsumi, the co-COO. He said, "We are currently moving forward with plans to revive a succession of IPs. While retaining the nostalgic elements so beloved by fans from the past, we will introduce innovative ideas and technologies that appeal to the current market, aiming to surpass user expectations by providing new experiences that merge nostalgia with a sense of freshness." That's Crazy Taxi. We are also making steady headway in development of the super game that we are seeking to create in the medium to long term. As the name implies, a super game involves the concept of a game that stands head and shoulders above normal games. Alright? Crazy Taxi is not that. It's not the 100 billion yen game. And here's what I'm saying today. You will know. When Sega finally does unveil its super game, there will be no question in your mind, oh my god, that's the super game. So for only the third time in this program's history, I think it's time for another Delayed Input bet. Because the thing is, I believe in Sega, and I believe in their super game. So if I'm wrong about this, if the super game is a dud, or if it comes out, it turns out that Crazy Taxi is indeed a super game, I'll tell you what. I will create and draw a Sonic original character. And on top of that, I will write and produce a theme song for said character. However, if my faith is warranted, if this super game does indeed stand head and shoulders above normal games, I will have my beloved cat Mucho, pictured here, consume a handcrafted cat treat forged in the image of N64 era Mario. Lock it in. See you in 2027.